Hey, what's going on? This is Sports Truth, and I'm your favorite host in the whole wide world, Jordan Harris. So, what are we talking about today? First, I want to get into this new segment that I'm going to be starting, and I'll do this towards the end of the episodes. And I'm going to be starting something called Story Time, quick little segment that we'll do at the end of the videos. So, if you see the little red font on the cover screen or on the thumbnail, that's how you'll know that this is going to be a story time episode. So at the end of the episode, whenever we finish talking about the main topic, I'll give a quick story about something that I've experienced. And it's not just for just for entertainment purposes, but obviously it'll be entertaining where I wouldn't be telling it, but it's also going to be something that you could take with you and you can learn from it just like I did. All right. So what are we talking about in this video? So this is going to be about the transfer portal and the most recent commitments that we've had. So we'll go over each of the commitments that we've had over the last couple of weeks. And then we'll talk about what kind of impact they may have. We'll give a little backstory on what they may be, where they come from, give a little bit of information on them, and go from there. All right? So the first one I want to talk about is Elijah Austin. Elijah Austin transferred from Marshall. Initially, he was going to Texas A&M, but we got a quick flip, which Mario Cristobal is pretty ridiculously good at that. I think we can all admit that at this point. But yeah, Texas A&M. Then he ended up flipping to Miami, which was real cool. He was a two-star out of high school, and now he's considered a three-star transfer, and he has 1 year remaining as far as eligibility in college. So he's 6'2", 256 pounds, defensive end, and I know like we all were talking at the end of the year about how much we really needed some safeties, and we also needed some people on the defensive line that could contribute immediately. Not just freshmen that were coming in, which obviously that's a big plus getting freshmen to come in, but a lot of times those freshmen are not able to impact the game as soon as they come onto campus because they haven't gotten the strength, they haven't gotten their weight up, and all that. You know how it goes. So to be able to get a defensive end, defensive lineman who's played many downs in college football, it's a big plus. So he had 45 tackles this past year, 6 sacks, 2 fumble forced, and an interception they took back to the house for a touchdown. So if you look at that highlight, homeboy's moving pretty quick. To be that big and be able to move that fast, really impressive. So I think Elijah Austin, I don't know if he'll be a starter. I don't think he'll start, but I do know that he's going to play quite a bit, and I wouldn't be shocked if he impacted quite a few games this coming year. So that's pretty exciting. All right, now let's talk about Isaiah Taylor. So this is Hall of Famer, Miami Dolphins great. This is his son, right? So he's got 2 years remaining. He was a 3-star coming out of high school, and he's also a 3-star transfer on some channels, some websites. So this one, like, let's not get too hyped about who his dad is. Let's just let him bloom into whomever he's going to end up blooming into, because I don't know what to expect from this player, to be honest with you. Transferred from Arizona, he's going to Miami, obviously. 5'11", 200 pounds. He's a safety. And like I said on the previous slide, we need safeties and we need defensive linemen. So anytime we get a safety in, I'm pretty excited about it. But this one is kind of weird, though, because he played quite a bit in 2022. He had 40 tackles, 2 passes defended, and an interception in 2022. But then in 2023, he got real quiet all of a sudden. I think he played 3 or 4 games in 2023, which is part of the reason why I didn't even put those numbers on here, because he didn't really record hardly any stats during 2023. So weird. I'm surprised it actually kept the 3 stars as a transfer. It seemed like it would have dropped quite a bit, being that he didn't hardly play at all last year. It seemed like he would probably go from a 3-star high school guy to a 1 or no star transfer. But, I mean, maybe his measurables and all that stuff are so high that it gives credence to 3 stars. I don't know. I think people are probably going to be super hyped about him being Jason Taylor's son, and I think we need to relax on that. Let's just see who he is, and I don't know. I don't know what to expect from him. But he's got 2 years remaining, which is really nice. So we'll just see. We'll see what he ends up blooming into. All right, let's move on to the next. Rodney Hill, Florida State. It's kind of tough for me to actually put anything Florida State on my screen. I'm telling y'all, when I say I have an unhealthy dislike for that school, I'm not exaggerating. I hate to even see it on my computer screen. It's so gross to me. The colors, the logo, everything about it grosses me out. But anyway, he's a three-star high school. He's a three-star player coming out of high school, and now he has no stars remaining. So transferred, 0 stars. But like I said, three years remaining. That's always nice. I know the running back room is super tight right now with talent, but the fact that he's got so many years left, I do like that. I like that quite a bit. If he was just a transfer that had 1 year remaining as a running back, I would say why even have this guy come on even as a walk on? Like why even waste your time? But then again, like he has a body. I hate to say that. That sounds terrible, but he is a guy who can come in there and carry the ball. He did that this past year. We'll go over his measurables and everything. So he's 5'10", 190 pounds. He's a running back, obviously. He had 190 yards, 1 touchdown, 5 catches, and 83 yards this past season. He actually did play in a couple of blowout games this past year for Florida State. Had that touchdown in a game that was pretty out of hand already. So he didn't really play too many important snaps this past year. But I don't know. Like, I'm not too excited about Rodney Hill. He was going to go play at FAMU. So first he was at Florida State, then he committed to FAMU, and then he ended up saying, no thanks, I'm going to go to Miami once FAMU's coach left. So let me know if y'all are excited about Rodney Hill. Am I tripping? I'm not excited at all. I don't know if it's because he came from Florida State first or what, but I'm just not too hyped about getting Rodney Hill on the team. Then again, he has 3 years remaining, so who knows what he'll grow into. God bless the man. Okay, so next person I want to talk about, they call him Mish, so I'm just going to call him Mish Powell. So he came from Washington, transferring to Miami. He's got 1 year left, eligibility. 6'1", 210 pounds. He's a safety, so he's definitely checking the box as far as a position that we really need. Since we lost Kinchins and we lost Williams at the safety position, we got to get somebody back there. And the safety position didn't look real great during the Rutgers game. So anybody that's coming in through that door, I'm excited to have him at that safety position. But yeah, safety had 38 tackles, 6 passes defended, 3 interceptions, which is nice to see somebody with more than 2 interceptions on the year. And he also had a touchdown, a crucial touchdown. If you go and look at the touchdown that he had, it was in a clutch moment that helped them preserve their undefeated season. So he played for Washington. What's real cool about that is he played for a team that ended up going to the championship game. So he played for the team that ended up being second overall in the country. You know what I'm saying? That's real cool. To be able to play in those big-time moments, big-time games, making huge plays, starting every game, being on the field for nearly every play, to have a player that can transfer from that over to Miami and bring that championship pedigree, I think that's pretty cool. And I'm not sitting here talking like Washington had a world beater defense, like the best defense in the country. Not saying that. And I'm sure a whole lot of y'all going to be thinking the same thing. Like, come on, bro. He's not coming from Georgia as their starting safety. I get it. But he's played in some big games, huge games. He played the national championship. So to be able to come, I'm pretty sure he's going to end up being our starting safety. If he doesn't end up being our starting safety, I will be shocked. But he's a 3-star recruit coming out of high school, and now he's a 3-star transfer. So he's definitely got talent. He's probably, out of the 4 that we've talked about, he's probably the commit that I'm the most excited about because he is an immediate replacement for a big hole that we had. Big, huge hole. So I'm glad to have him on our team for sure. All right, so let's go ahead and jump right into story time. So today I want to talk about how one of the worst days of my entire life ended up being probably the biggest blessing of my entire life. So I got my degree from Wichita State in 2010. Most of y'all probably never even heard of Wichita State, but Wichita State Shockers. It's where I'm from. It's where I went to school. So got my business degree from there, started looking for jobs, ended up finding a job for this big airplane manufacturing business here in Wichita. And if you know anything about Wichita, you'll know that it's considered the air capital of the world because we build more airplanes in Wichita than anywhere in the entire world. So they call Wichita, Kansas, the air capital of the world. That's what they call it. So I got this job overseeing the cleaning company at this big airplane manufacturing company. I was over 105 employees. I was like 22. So it was a pretty big job, paid a decent amount. Did that job for 3 years. And my boss and I stopped getting along. He ended up hiring somebody else in, and we didn't get along. It ended up getting kind of ugly towards the end. So we stopped getting along. My wife was pregnant with her first child. So, of course, my wife and I are excited about that. Talked to my boss about it. He would always ask, like, how's your wife doing? I'm like, oh, yeah, she's doing a couple days. She's due any day now. That kind of thing. So it came, like, my job, like, and my boss and I, like, came to a head where we really stopped getting along. And homeboy fired me the day before my daughter was born, the day before my first child was born. So I'm sitting in the hospital, and everybody's excited because it's the first grandchild on both sides, my wife's side and my side, first grandchild. So everybody's excited about that. But nobody knows I just lost my job. Nobody knows. I have no idea how I'm paying for any of this, like this hospital stay. I don't have any money saved up. I'm dead broke. Nobody knows. Everybody's excited about the baby. They don't know what's going on through my mind. You know what I'm saying? So, you can see, like, there's some pictures that my wife has, like when my mom and my mother-in-law were taking pictures in the hospital of everybody. You could see me in the corner on my computer, and I was looking for jobs. They had no idea what I was doing, but you could see me in this picture in the corner, and I'm like in the corner of the hospital room looking for jobs. Instead of being excited for the birth of my first child, I was stressed the heck out. It was crazy. So before I got fired, I kept getting these whispers. I call them whispers. I just kept getting these nudges of like, man, I should start my own company. Like, I understand what they do here. I think I could start my own thing and be pretty successful at it if I just give it a shot. But I never did quit my job. I just kept going back to that job because it paid me a decent amount. Never would quit. I just kept going back there, even though I kept getting these whispers, bro, you probably should quit and start your own thing. So eventually, I didn't listen to the whispers. God ended up yelling, making me leave. Instead of me leaving myself, he made me leave. I got fired, right? So ended up being unemployed for a good little while. I was on unemployment. I think I was getting $400 a week on unemployment checks. I had no money saved up, and that $400 a week would add up, and then I would pay for this bill, pay that bill, pay this bill, pay that bill. And at the end of the month, I would typically have just enough to pay rent. And I was living in a house that I had to literally beg this man to let my wife and I stay in because I didn't have a job. He was renting the house out. Obviously, you don't rent houses out to people who are unemployed. So I had to type this long email that I still have. And I'm like, I don't have any money. My wife doesn't have money. I get that. But I have unemployment money coming in. I promise you'll get paid every month. That's what I ended up saying to the man, and I kept my word, and he let us move in there. So ended up using all of my unemployment money to pay rent. It would always add up almost exactly right. So I didn't have any money saved, didn't have any excess money. Every dollar we had coming in would either go to paying the electric bill, the water bill, or rent, paying for food, and we'd have just enough. So one day I got this idea. I was like, I'm going to start a janitorial company of my own. I'm going to save up some money to buy a vacuum cleaner. And I knew that Walmart had vacuum cleaners for $45 for sale. I don't know how I knew that, but I knew that. And it sounds crazy to some people, but I had to save up $45 over a span of like 2 months. I just had to say like, okay, here's $10 this week. Next week I'd save $6. Next week I'd save $5. So I saved up that $45 over a span of a few weeks and bought a vacuum cleaner, a little red Dirt Devil vacuum cleaner. I took that vacuum cleaner around to different buildings, knocking on doors, asking people to clean their buildings, or just like, hey, my name is Jordan Harris. I just started a janitorial service. Would you allow me to give you a quote to clean your building? Of course, most people laugh me out the door. But one company in this small town named Andover, Kansas, which is about 20 miles outside of Wichita, she was like, "Yeah, I'll give you a shot." So I went and cleaned that building. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I made $667 every month. Not every week, every month. $667 doing that. Did that for about 3 or 4 months. Still continuing to knock on doors during the day, cleaning that building at night, doing it over and over and over, knocking on doors during the day, cleaning at night, knocking on doors during the day, cleaning at night. So continue knocking on doors, and I could not get another opportunity. People were like, nah, bruh, I'm not going to give you this opportunity. I'm not going to give you this contract. You cannot clean my building. Get out of here. Heard that over and over and over. So I ended up asking the company that I was currently cleaning for. I said, hey, I'm having some issues growing my business. Would you mind writing a letter of recommendation for me, just to show that I'm not like going to take their keys and make a bunch of copies of them and sell them to my friends and do all kind of weird stuff. So I asked them that, and she was like, yeah, sure. So she wrote me this letter of recommendation. I took that letter around to all these other companies that I had been speaking to, and they actually took me seriously. And then I started getting more and more accounts. I went from one account to 2 to 4 to 6 to 12. And then once I got to having too many accounts for me to deal with, I asked my brother, I was like, hey man, would you quit your job and come partner and work with me? Because this business is actually growing. I got some momentum now. I think it'd be pretty cool because what I'm good at, you're not the greatest at. And what you're really good at, I'm not that good at. So we make like the perfect pairing, you know? He's like, yeah. So he ended up, which was kind of crazy, but he ended up quitting his job. He had a pretty good job too. So he ended up quitting his job, partnered up with me, and we went from having just one employee, just me, and then just, I think it was like maybe 5 employees when he partnered up with me. So we had like 5 at that point. And we just continued that track record. We got to about 30 employees or so. And my wife, she's like working for daycare centers because she loves kids. She grew up in a daycare center. And she was like, she had just got, it was weird, she got fired too. And I was like, hey, why don't you just start your own daycare center? Because like owning your own business is where it's at, apparently. It's working out for me. I think you should do the same. So she started a home daycare center, started with 6 kids and then 8 kids. Then I said, well, we got this daycare center in our house. All the state will allow us to have is 8 kids. I said, so if we actually get a daycare center, a building, we could have way more than 8. Let's try that. So eventually we did get a daycare center. So we had 8 kids in our house. We started in the daycare center with 18 kids. Then it went from 18 kids to 57 kids. Then from 57 kids to 100 kids. Then 100 to 154. And then 154 to 200. And then 200 to 225 kids. And then we just bought our 3rd daycare center, which is in this town called Newton, Kansas. So the daycare center has 220 plus kids in it now. The cleaning company, we clean maybe 85 buildings with about 80 employees. So altogether, we've got about 150 employees. Yeah, it's been, and, you know, I get to work with people that I actually care about. I get to work with my wife, who's the director of all the daycare centers. I get to work with my brother. You know what I'm saying? I get to work with my sister who works with us. I get to work with my mother-in-law. She works with me. I get to work with my mom. So everybody that I really care about and people that I really like being around all day, every day, I work with them now. And the businesses that we've created, it allows not just me to have as much money as I need or even more than that. It allows them to make more than they really need too. So it's been like the worst thing that possibly could have happened to me was getting fired. It was one of the lowest points of my entire life because my boss and I didn't get along. He fired me because he was trying to get back at me. And, you know, he wanted me to suffer from that. And it did hurt for a long, long time. And then it also was tough because I had all that hesitation where I kept getting those whispers like, you need to go ahead and quit and start your own thing. And I didn't listen to those whispers. So eventually God yelled because I wouldn't listen to him whispering. So he yelled, and I got fired. But who would ever know they would grow to the biggest blessing that I would ever even consider? Like now we own all these businesses, 7 businesses. They're all doing really well. So the reason why I tell that story is because so many of us be hesitating. So many of us have these really good ideas. So many of us hate our jobs, and we just don't consider the fact that you actually don't have to hate your job. You really can create something. You can create a business of yours that allows you to wake up when you want to. It allows you to make YouTube videos in your spare time. It allows you to hire the people that you want to work with. It allows you to make people that you love business owners, not just employees of yours. So if you're one of those people like me who kept getting those whispers of, man, maybe I should start my own company, like, just do it. Like what Nike says, the Nike slogan is the realest thing ever. Just do it. It's all it is. It's just a matter of doing it. We all we all have ideas. I had one of my mentors. I was in his car one day. He was driving past a cemetery. He was like, "What do you see out there?" And I looked at the cemetery and I'm like, "Headstones." He said, "Well," he asked me, like, "You know what I see when I look out there?" And I was like, "What?" And he said, "I see a bunch of dreams and opportunities that people died with." And I'm like, "You sure right." So that's why I'm able to sit here in front of you and tell you I've had, I think the last time I counted was 18 businesses that I started and failed within 1 month, within the first month. And I bet you 10 of those failed in the first week. It's 18 businesses that I've started and failed. But then I have a few of them right now that are doing exceptionally well that I could sell right now and not have to work again for the rest of my life, just based on acting, right? Just based on doing something. God was telling me a long time ago to quit my job and start my own business, but I didn't listen. I'm thankful that he got me fired, so I would have to do my own thing. But eventually, it ended up growing into, you've probably seen this magazine behind me. This is like the Wichita Business Magazine. I was also recognized as the 40 under 40 professionals in my area. Also, I got to go to the White House last year. They flew me to Washington, D.C., had the president and the vice president right in front of me speaking to me when I was recognized as the United States, the federal government small business person of the year for the state of Kansas last year. So I got that recognition last year. But as simple as I am, if you've watched this video, you know I'm a pretty simple guy. If you watch this channel, you know I'm super simple. So for a simple guy like me to be able to do the things that I've done, I'm praying that you realize it doesn't take special folks. It takes simple people like me who just act on their dreams. And I promise you, you got something that you could do that you want to do and you've just been thinking about it, but you haven't moved on it. I say go ahead and move on it. So that's the story time for today. I appreciate you watching the video. Please do like the video, subscribe to the channel. As I always say in my videos, you could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with me, and I truly appreciate that. Take care. God bless. Peace.